who's the greatest fighter of all time, right? And then take it from there. There's no answer to that question. It's a conversation starter. It's Batman versus Superman and all the different possible integers. And quite frankly, if you even go down that road, unless you're looking to just have a little bit of fun, you're probably a little bit of a dork. It's just one of these weird topics. Yeah, I hate the pound for pound list. And I find myself talking about it, by the way. But I do hate the list because there's no ability to prove it. Or you'll get the guy that wants to come out and claim that he's the pound for pound great, but he's not willing to change weight classes. He's not willing to do a super fight. He's not willing to do a catch weight fight. He's only worried to be locked in on this. Do you not know what the term pound for pound means? Because I didn't make it up. But a guy in Brooklyn, New York that was a media member in 1974 while covering boxing did. So whatever he says the definition is what the definition is. And what his definition of pound for pound was that anybody who could go at any weight, regardless of what weight class he was in, who would be the champion. That's what it meant. So now you start, okay, well, is that about skills? Is that about who's the most dynamic? Is that just about who could beat anybody? You start to, right, and you see where this gets a little bit weird, but when you get an athlete that wants to come out and go, I'm the pound for pound fat, but they're not willing to actually go in any other pounds, it can be a little bit frustrating, which is why I just think the topic is bizarre. But if you were to answer the question, who is the pound for pound great? Demetrius Johnson's going to come up. George St. Pierre is going to come up. I mean, right, you're going to have some of these likely. Anderson Silva's going to get thrown in. You're going to have some of these likely suspects. When you put it into divisions and or categories, it can get a little bit easier of an argument, but particularly when you say men's versus women's, because when it comes to women's, there's only one answer. You could say anybody you wanted in the men's, and you could talk about the 125-pound class, and you could go all the way on up to heavyweight, and you can do it all sorts of different ways. You can't actually argue with any level of credibility unless you say Amanda Nunes. You would sound like a fool. She has beaten absolutely everybody. She only fights world champions. She has covered the weight classes and the spread. She has beaten every female champion that has ever been champion in any reasonable class. I think in every single weight class except for 115 pounds. She's beaten every single champion. It really is a remarkable thing. And I'm not coming to you as some, let me shine up Amanda. And, Amanda and I are really close, and I want to come and get the word out. This is just what happened. If you come out and you come to a different conclusion than Amanda, I mean, you're going to need one hell of an explanation. And by the time you get done saying it, the person you say it to is probably not going to talk MMA with you anymore. You're going to sound foolish. Amanda has gotten so good that she is getting ready to fight a world champion who, by the way, never lost her belt. And nobody's even given the Iron Lady a chance. And I think that that's a very bizarre thing, and it's very rude to do to the Iron Lady. But if you look at it in its totality, it's really just meant as a compliment to Amanda. How many times does she have to go out there and do great things? I remember when she got named as the main event for UFC 200, and it was like the day before. John Jones had failed his drug test. They're flying Anderson Silva in to take on Daniel Cormier. Brock Lesnar's with Mark Hunt, but they're not on the top of the belt. I mean, everything got weird, and I remember seeing that. I cover the sport, and I'm a huge fan. I'm going, who is Miesha Tate fighting? Miesha Tate's the main event, but who's she fighting? I didn't even know who this was. I just didn't. She hadn't had enough time on TV. She hadn't had enough time in the spotlight. She was a 2.5-1 underdog the night she fought Miesha Tate at UFC 200, just by example. So I wasn't the only one that was left out on third base wearing a catcher's mitt. I mean, this was just kind of the view of the world. And all of a sudden, she's got to walk in front of an arena, in front of everybody, after Anderson Silva, after Daniel Cormier, after Brock Lesnar. There was a lot on it. It took her less than 5 minutes to prove her point. Everybody knows who Amanda is. Okay, great. She goes in against whoever she goes with, to whoever she goes to after that, into the Ronda Rousey fight, into the Chris Cyborg fight. I mean, the whole thing is just this absolute bizarro world of talent and technique. But along the way to UFC 200, she did fight a young lady named the Iron Lady. And this is a rematch. And I only tell you that because so many people don't know that. So many people were like me. Look, not only was Amanda not known at UFC 200 after she'd already fought in Jermaine, by the way, but Jermaine wasn't known. That was in 2013. And the Iron Lady wasn't the world champion yet. She hadn't even found 145 pounds yet when she went on her big run. It was just one of these deals where they meet up and it's in a smaller show. It was like a UFC fight for the troops, and it wasn't even like a huge audience, let alone a viewership. And some fights go that way. Demetrius Johnson fought Dominic Cruz before Demetrius was Demetrius and before Dominic was Dominic. And then a period of time later goes by and you go, boy, if we could get Demetrius and Dominic together, that'd be a super fight for the ages. And you got to remind people, well, actually that fight already happened. Now, this is all speculation and this is all talk. But let's speculate and let's talk. Here's the thing. So Amanda has done one thing different that's noticeable for me, which is she just made a comment in the media, but she's never made this comment before. And she said, what's different about me going into this fight that I've never had before is I now have confidence. That's concerning to me. I will tell you guys why. While you have been told since you were little kids that you must believe and you must be confident, take it from a guy who's never believed and never been confident. That word is a deception to the highest of levels, and no, you do not need to be confident. You absolutely do not in anything in life. And remember that. Don't ever not go do something because you're not confident if you can do it. Confidence is one of the last things that you will need. You will need effort. You will need grit. You will need heart. You will need determination. You will need focus. You will need drive. You will need a ton of buzzwords that I could throw out that are realistic way before you ever need confidence. That word is designed to sell t-shirts and books, and it's a bunch of crap. But here's the problem with confidence for an athlete. Confidence and arrogance. Confidence and a false sense start to become a really fine line. And I do not suggest for you that Amanda has this, but I will tell you straight up that many other athletes who have come along and had a high level of success have started talking crazy about this fake, stupid, fictional word known as confidence. They use that to replace hard work, grit, toughness, focus, and determination, all things that you actually do need to make it in life. I have no evidence that this is happening to Amanda. I can just tell you, I was given some very good advice by a man named Mark Schultz when I was 18 years old, and he said, Chael, it is always okay to read what they say about you, but it is never okay to believe it. And that was good or bad. If they say something bad about you, don't believe it. But if they say you're the greatest, don't believe that either, because it will stop you. It is a buzzword, confidence. It is false. It is fake. It was likely coined by somebody who didn't even have it. Just knew it sounded good. You have to be working hard. You have to be tough. You have to have a vision. You have to have resilience. You have to have grit. That is where the day-old question keeps coming back to fighting. Can a rich man fight? For the longest time, the answer was no. Oscar De La Hoya came along, added to by Floyd Mayweather, and proved that there are some exceptions to that rule. But there is something very real. Once you climb a mountain, what is your motivation to go and climb that mountain again? Some guys like to do it. Some people don't know any difference. Some people just have more trophies and more medals and more hardware that they want to go collect. Some people are just wired differently. Amanda appears, in all fairness, to be one of those. But anytime something is different with a successful athlete, it's always the beginning of the end. You can trace it whether it's an athlete is to go and switch camps, get a new trainer, get a new team. Anytime something changes, they don't end up getting the result that they used to have. When you have a high level of success and all of a sudden you come in and you say, you know what's different, and now I believe in myself. What does that mean? Maybe belief isn't good. Maybe a little bit of fear is what makes that athlete tick. Maybe being apprehensive behind the curtain, having your palms sweat, having the butterflies, not knowing what the future is going to be is actually what made you tick. I'm only making this suggestion for you because we haven't really seen any kryptonite to the great Amanda. And I'm not really on the side of predicting that we're going to. I think that Amanda might be one of the most reliable athletes in sports today. In all of sport, not in this sport. I didn't say in this sport. I said in all of sport. Nice compliments by me. Just seeing what I'm saying. It's all fair. But it's also fair for me to tell you that I do raise an eyebrow to a two-division world champion who has suddenly found one of the most false things that you'll ever be told in life: confidence.